Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Civivi Wellmax, designed by, I'm going to try, Message Torbay. I am very sorry if I mispronounced your name. I want to start off by saying that this is an absolutely wild design. This is one of the most interesting and creative aesthetics that I've seen from Civivi. This is not a lazy knife in any way, shape, or form. Whether it's your cup of tea or not, I think it's safe to say that this is very much non-typical for Civivi. It also has a very non-typical price tag, which we are absolutely going to talk about. But I do want to state that the design of it is very, very cool. So hats off to the designer. This is really neat. And even if it wasn't a Civivi knife, I would say very interesting and wild. And, you know, it makes what I do really fun. It makes the knife world fun. The fact that we have so many widely varying aesthetics. And this is a really cool one. It's a neat combination of materials. So anyways, I will link it down in the description. There's a couple different variations of it. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Thanks to Civivi for sending this guy in. Let's go ahead and measure it. The overall length of the Wellmax is coming in at 8.5 inches. Not a little guy. Blade length is coming in at 3.75. Cutting edge about 3.65. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and Others. It is actually the exact same. It looks longer because of the angle of the camera, but it's the exact same overall length as Excalibur. It is definitely larger, though. I mean, the profile's larger and it's bigger than the small one for sure. Let's put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. It's bigger. And finally, we'll put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. How is the action? This is a big old plunge lock. Really wish that I don't need Civivi to, you know, like discontinue all plunge locks. I wish that they would try a different locking system though. This guy makes a very, very satisfying twang when you deploy it. Can you hear that? Get it up to the mic. Makes a little metallic noise. I like that. It does feel, I don't know if it actually is a heavier duty plunge lock. It does feel a little heavier duty. It's got a nice detent. The thumb studs are big and wide, which makes them easy to access. You can use this groove in here to just slow roll it out if you really want to, which is also a nice little option if you don't feel like, you know, doing a tactical, you know, deployment in the middle of the bank. Yeah, it manipulates like a big, beefy plunge lock. As far as what they're working with there, it's good. The positioning of everything is good. The action feels good. It's got some stick. That usually works itself out with plunge locks. And, you know, this knife came, if you guys watch the unboxing, it had what I call plunge drag, which is when you push the button really hard and it kind of slows the blade down. This has since mostly gone away. It's just sliding at the bottom a little bit now, but eventually this will even out and it'll just consistently drop all the way to the bottom. So if yours does that, don't worry, continue to use it and play with it, and it evens itself out as you can see here. The action's good is what I'm saying. Let's do carry profile, thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. He's a little meaty, not too bad. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. This is where the knife kind of becomes a little bit of a pocket hog. It's very similar to the total amount of space occupied by the Spyderco PM2. It's a tall boy, it's a long boy. Let's go ahead and weigh it. What are we looking at for materials? The other one's different. I don't know what the inlay material is for the other one, but this is an Ultim inlay, which has been polished and textured, right? I understand that Ultim by itself is not an exotic material, but they still have to machine it and cut it and polish it and get it to, you know, laid in this case, into aluminum. And you can see there's some milling underneath. You got that kind of almost like alien hive looking, you know, milling in the aluminum underneath. And I think that's really cool. I think it's creative. This isn't cheap to do in this territory. I mean, it's obviously not nearly as expensive as like milling titanium and some other material the same way. But it's still, this is higher effort, right? There's a lot of design work that went into it, so credit where it's due. Ultim aluminum and 14C28N. And then I think the pocket clip is steel, but we're gonna check here real quick. I think. Yes, it is. It's a milled steel clip is what you're looking at here. But the rest of the frame is aluminum. So it's just the blade and the pocket clip and probably some of the hardware and the filler tab that's going to be steel there. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and weigh it. There's the scale. It doesn't feel incredibly heavy because of the substantial milling and the Ultim. I bet it's not too far north of 4. It's 4.2. That's about what I expected. Not bad considering how big the knife is. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'll get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. We have a T8 for the pivot, T8 for the body hardware, T8 for the pocket clip hardware, and even though the pocket clip is not symmetrical, it can be flipped over and utilized for left-handed carry or optimal left-handed carry. That's a T6 screw right here for the filler tab. It's just one screw, and then you have two T8 screws for the pocket clip. There'll be another hole there if you want to flip it over to the other side. But anyways, as long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. Let's measure the blade stock thickness, and then we'll move on to the meat and potatoes. It's actually not an incredibly thick blade. 115 thousandths. Okay, meat and potatoes time. What a wild looking knife, and I gotta say, ergonomically pretty cozy, pretty good. This knife did bring a smile to my face every time I got it out. And you guys know the drill on this channel. I'm a design reviewer. When I review knives, take a look at what the community has said and find out, if there are things like subpar HRC or if we have like inconsistent lock, reliability, little things like that. If we have a tendency for certain companies to have varying fit and finish, etc. I know after reviewing and using countless Civivi knives that Civivi makes a good product. Their prices can be a little wackadoo here and there, but they have one of the best factory edges on the market. Their heat treating ranges anywhere from mediocre to pretty good, right? They make a really, really nice budget knife. I think their zone where they play the best is right about $40 to $75. I think they make some of their best knives in that range, right? Now they of course have Sencut, and I think I truly believe Sencut is nothing more than a catalyst to help justify higher price tags or rising price tags in Civivi, right? Sencut makes more basic pocket knives, but largely the same materials, just not nearly as complicated, and so there is a justifiable gap between them. But I think the Wii Knife Company uses Sencut to justify a bigger gap for profits in Civivi, and I don't think I'm the only person who thinks that. I think that's super obvious, and at the same time, Civivi knives, and as they rise, then I think they, probably in some roundabout way kind of use the same thing, the same idea to, push the prices of a lot of premium Wii knives even higher, right? But they're a business. We live in a world where businesses do that. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying, like, if it gets to a point where it's too much for you, then all you can do is go with a competitor. But anyways, Civivi still does make a lot of really, really great stuff between $50 and $75, right? They've got a few models that creep up over the top of that, some more or less justifiable. I know that Civivi makes a good knife, and this is another example of that. I think in a lot of ways it's kind of Civivi, it's Wii Knives flexing, like, look what we can do, right? It would be a lot bigger flex if it weren't for one glaring issue. But let's take a look here at the inlay work. The Ultim looks really nice. The way that it's nested into the aluminum is really cool. I wish I had the other one so I could compare that one as well. I like how they color match the hardware. I think that's neat. A couple of standoffs back here. The pocket clip does look nice. It's a milled clip. Blade is wild. It's a Tanto. Both edges are about the same length. A little belly in the second one. Nice fuller here. Robust Tanto. You will be sharpening two separate edges unless you decide to say screw it and just sharpen right through, which I'm going to be honest with you. If this was going to be like a dedicated pocket knife for me, I'd just sharpen that right through. But if you want to keep the two edges separate, you can do that. Cutting geometry on this guy feels pretty good. Honestly, it passed through things like cardboard and tape and stuff like that pretty easily. I mean, it slices. It's no slouch. That's what I expect from most Civivi knives anyway, though. I mean, their geometry is usually fairly thin, anywhere from fairly thin to extremely thin. And gosh, their factory edge is just insane. Absolutely insane. I don't know what this is. I believe it's some sort of like mid-range PVD coating, but as you can see, it cleaned up perfectly. So did the edge, and that's usually the case with, unless I'm like grinding it into something hard like a staple or whatever, it seems to hold up fine, but it is not DLC. That's definitely not the case. 14C28N is the blade steel. This is I think these are limited. Yeah, they made 599 of them. Why? And also, gosh, that's a lot. You made a lot of these, so I hope you guys sell them all. That's the designer right there. 14C28N is a fantastic steel on a budget knife, on a knife that's sub $75. We've seen many companies prove that they can build pretty darn nice knives, not necessarily overly complex, but pretty darn nice knives, even utilizing materials like aluminum in the $40 to $50 range, right? Obviously, doing something like this is going to increase the price beyond that point. So, yeah, 14C28N, I think, very, very exclusively belongs in the sub $100 knife world, and mostly under 75, but in some cases I think you can make an argument for sub 100. But 14C28N, not a super steel, not a horribly expensive steel, not a powder steel, nothing like that. It has a really good balance that accentuates toughness and edge stability. You're also getting corrosion resistance, and you're getting okay edge retention. But it's great on budget knives because you can beat the crap out of it. And when you go to resharpen it, most of the time you're resharpening rolls and not chips because of its toughness. And that's why people prefer it. I think it's fine. Like for Civivi, I think that's one of their best choices. Again, though, that's not really the problem. We'll come around to it. It's nice that you can mount the pocket clip on both sides. Lefties, you will of course be manipulating that button with your index finger, and there's not really any natural position I'd worry too much about squeezing it into a disengagement situation. It's usually the case with button locks if they're, lefty friendly. Right-handed people, there's no real like spot where your index finger is going to fall on that button, so you should be good to go. I mean, it's a fun knife to use. It's not really optimized for anything. It's just fun, and it's super comfortable. That's the real benefit for this. It looks wild and crazy and like it wouldn't be comfortable or practical. It actually is super comfortable, and aside from two separate edges you'll have to resharpen, big deal. It's 14C28N. It's just cool. It's a knife that's going to make you smile every time you get it out of your pocket. It's big and crazy, and I think the Ultim one looks really neat. Stop pin located in its traditional position with lots of shouldering. Closed position stop is actually right here underneath where it connects with the plunge grind, but it's far enough back that it really should never, ever be an issue. Looks like it's probably engaging. Yeah, it's clear in here. I don't think that's a problem. If you think that's a problem, fine. I don't think it's a problem. The lockout, lost my train of thought there. Lockout completely and totally centered. Little stick, it'll work itself out. No pivot lash, super smooth and consistent. Look at the detent created by the plunge lock. God, Civivi does that so well. It's like a detent ball almost. Perfectly centered, no detent lash. Here we are. Here we are. Many of you just fast forwarded to this part. I want to hear what he has to say about the price tag. Well, I think the price is ass. The price is ass. What are you guys thinking, Civivi? No, you guys, no. This is obviously higher effort. And again, hats off to the designer. I very much doubt the designer was like, we gotta charge this for it. We gotta. I very much doubt he pushed and Civivi was like, no, we can't do that. And then he twists their arm. He's like, you submit. And Civivi was like, fine, we'll charge too much for it. Nah, I think Civivi did that. Civivi. Guys, the base price of this version's $138. Is that right? God, a $138 and the other version is $128. This is, no. And here's the thing. It's like people are like, well, don't you buy like multi-$1,000 knives? Haven't you paid like multiple thousands over what you think certain knives are worth? Yeah. And, when it comes to like personal purchases, I think that you can identify when things are overpriced. And then if you just really, really want it, you can still go ahead and do that. That's your personal choice, right? I've done that many times, but I can still point out when something is overpriced. The percentage over that it is the larger percentage over that that the price is versus what I think it should be. That's where it really starts to bother me. So, like if you compare this with a knife that I've paid thousands more for than I think what it should be worth, you might think, well, why do you care if it's like $10, $20, $30, $40 overpriced if you're okay with because it's the percentage, right? And I'm also making videos for people in widely, varying financial situations. So somebody who's trying to get, the best bang for their buck, and they're looking at knives between $1 and $150, right? It's important to talk about exactly how far over the line this is versus its direct competition, right? And also to talk about knives that are better placed within that $1 to $150 territory, because that's where this falls. They want $129 to $139. How much did this knife cost? About $90. Do I think that this is a budget build? No, I think this deserves to be north of $75. Yeah, it's just a plunge lock, but I mean, clearly there's more effort here, and it's a big knife, right? $100 should be the absolute maximum, and even then I'd be a little irritated. I think $85 to $90 makes a little more sense for this, but what are we trying to do here? This knife and the existence of it and the fact that it's like a limited run and it's real wild and crazy, the fact that they priced it as high as they did, it feels like them testing the waters to see if they can go ahead and start charging even more. That's what it feels like. If something like this was wildly successful, they'd go, all right, everything's more expensive now. So I say no. This isn't even close. It's crazy. You can, this is a really cool designing knife, but it's not like other nice designing knives don't exist in this same price point with better materials. I mean, I literally just reviewed a knife from Kaiser that was aluminum and S45VN, or I think mine was carbon fiber, but the aluminum and S45VN version of that knife was $129. Literally $10 less than this, and it's S35VN. It wasn't as complicated, but if we're talking about, materials and like the cost of creation here, the cost of creation, and even considering the milling, the cool blade, and the Ultim blade into the aluminum, there is no way that it pushed them up to needing to charge this much for it. There's no way. I don't believe it. I just think they're so far out of line with this. The design's cool. Again, hats off to the designer. It's a really fun knife. Puts a smile on my face. Makes a cool noise. I think it's a good tool, right? If you can choke down that price tag, great. But I would not recommend this at that price. I think it is way, 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 way over the line. Really cool. Civivi, if you want to make stuff like this and charge this much for it, I'll tell you what you could have done. You could have made the blade S35VN. You want $140 for this? You make the blade S35VN. And then maybe, right? And then actually not maybe. Then that's great. If you want to charge that much, you have to give us a more premium steel. You have to give us something that's the next tier up. You can't take a sub $100 steel and slap it on a knife that's almost $150, right? And just say, oh, well, but we made the yellow stuff in there. Like, okay, these are all still budget materials. Higher effort. It's not. I'm not saying it's a $50, $60, even a $75 knife. I think it deserves to be as much as $90, maybe even $100 with a little bit of a frown on my face, right? 130, 140. I don't think so. Cool knife though. That's going to be it from me today, guys. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.